Now, what are those microbes in your gut doing? They're fermenting. What does fermentation make? Booze. So you're wondering why all of us have brain fog and kids are suffering.
Mm.
Okay, they're because we're feeding all of us a plant-based, sugar-based, fermenting diet, which causes heat, alcohol, aldehydes, methane gas, bloating. How many people are suffering from that?
Welcome to the channel. I'm JT from the Poco Moonshine family. Today, I'm chatting with Carnivores Podcast. We have Dr. Kiltz, and if you haven't listened to him yet, you're going to love him. You're going to love his energy. He's a doctor, a pilot, a pottery maker, painter, author. He does many great things. Dr. Kiltz, thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
JT, I'm amazing. Thank you for asking. I'm so glad to be here with you. I've been watching your stuff, inspired by it. And we're a family of carnivores sharing an idea that is so radical. Most people think we're crazy, which we kind of are anyway.
Yes, and it's good to be a little crazy. I feel like the crazy thinkers, like the Wright brothers, they brought us the airplane, which you're a pilot. You know how great that machine is, that invention. And
Absolutely. And, we're learning something completely opposite. And, this carnivore stuff has been around for like kind of thousands of years, but we're relearning the proper human diet, as our good friend Ken Berry likes to say, and so many others that are aspiring in this space.
absolutely, and I cannot wait to see you in Healing Humanity, the movie. You're just gonna crush it, and I'm so glad for you being in there and being willing to be part of that. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to Carrie and to everybody else when it comes out.
I'm with you on that. And again, the interesting part about this carnivore journey is that we're a group of people that are sharing how human beings heal by doing something. And the story and the movie and many other things that people put out, and I think social media is critical. It's just sharing how regular human beings, we're all regular human beings, by the way, are healing on something that is completely opposite of what we're all taught, and the suffering. We want to see it be eliminated, but we know that it's just each person's on their own journey, and this is something that you won't find the science to give you the answer quite readily, although I think it's simple science personally. But there's only one experiment that you need to be looking at, is you, and making the changes. And that's what I personally did. I suffered some kid dyslexia, migraines, bowel problems. As an adult, I had bowel bleeding, arthritis, psoriasis, kidney stones, and all these things that none of my doctors ever could say anything like, well, it's just you're unlucky, and eat more salad, and don't eat red meat, and exercise more. And it got worse and worse and worse. And when my sister Marianne died at 52 of diabetes, and my best friend Dave Kilmer died of cancer at 52, he was my friend in medical school, I questioned everything. And that's when I began to dig deep into this story, that ultimately fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, plants are poisonous and highly antigenic, means they create a lot of allergic reactions. And then they contain chemicals like heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, and many other chemicals that you and I have never heard of. And I look at them and I don't even know what they are, but they're likely responsible for that. And at 55, I went carnivore. I tried keto, paleo, Atkins, Weight Watchers, everything, but I'll be 68 next Tuesday, March 12th. And I've never felt better in my life. Steak and eggs every day.
Well, happy early birthday. You definitely don't look like you're in your 60s, my dude.
Uh,
Show
you know,
some
I,
love,
I,
man. There's no
oh
way
man,
your sons are
I mean, I tell people I'm 90 and they
better
go like,
times than I
whoa,
do, man.
oh, yeah, look at, and it's, I don't do a lot of pumping. I just do, typically I do about 100 push-ups a day. And I sometimes do them in like maybe 50, and then 30 and then 20 because I just can't do it anymore. But I do 100 sometimes. I got a pull-up bar. I do a little bit. I just keep it in my office. I do 2 or 3, and I do a little bit of dumbbells. But the most important part is your diet. You can't outrun your diet. And I didn't make this up. I know so where the quote came from, but we're all running and trying to get healthy. And I did it. I looked great, but my body was falling apart. And to me, carnivore is a simple answer to something that's so complicated, but it's not.
Absolutely. And you did an interview with Carrie from Homestead How, and I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly the words you used, but you were talking about how people are like, where's the studies? Where the studies? And you're like, we're the proof. We're the study.
Well, I was at low carb Denver. I don't know, maybe it's 2 years ago coming up, and I stood up and sort of made a statement that I think that the data is somewhat doo-doo. And so, we're trying to put our studies out there. Well, they're going to put their studies out there. And then, it's all confusing. And really the real power of carnivore is simply say, we're lions. And I don't generally debate anyone on this because, I don't think it's worth the time or energy personally, because I think we're seeing more and more lions that have been fed like pigs, cows, and sheep come back to the lion's den and feel better. Their drugs are gone. The doctors are gone. The need of dissections are gone. And even in many cases, cancer is being healed. And that's why I'm just like flabbergasted at the amazement of this. And so I kind of talk about it a little bit.
Absolutely. And I want to know, you've been on carnivore diet for a while now. You mentioned a few of the health issues you had. What has improved for you in your health wise, and what's probably one of those things that sticks out the most as like the most eye opening thing you thought would change?
Hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids. I used
Hemorrhoids.
to get those bad.
Oh yeah. So I'd have hemorrhoids and bleeding, and I get my annual colonoscopy, and they say, well, and then I say, can you cut them out? And they're like, no, you don't want to do that. They're just going to come back. I said, fine. And so I used to bleed. I used to hemorrhage on the toilet, and there was no sign why and when. It just so literally when I went carnivore at age 55, in 1 month my hemorrhoids were gone and my bowel bleeding was gone, and I'm going to say constipation was gone, and I was keto. And I'm telling you, keto again, keto's okay, but carnivore is great. And when I switched to carnivore, I pretty much do bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt. Now I occasionally do some fries, extra crispy, with dipped in the lard, the tallow from the steak, and then salt and a little bit of sour cream. Actually, lots of sour cream, and I occasionally do my ice cream, and because I think that it's okay occasionally, and I'm not going to chastise anyone for doing that. And again, I don't chastise anyone for their diet, by the way. But yeah, I think hemorrhoids were a big deal, but my migraines went away, my arthritis, my psoriasis, kidney stones, and my anxiety and depression went away. And I suffered for years, and I did a lot of work to be positive, and I'm a positive guy overall. But what I found is, and mindfulness, I think, is really powerful. Prayer, meditation, all those sort of things are great. But yeah, no more bleeding, no more constipation. I used to go, 1 to 3 times a day. Now I go once to 3 times a week, and there's no more bleeding, almost no toilet paper. It just comes out. Lickety split, done.
That's awesome. My gramps is turning 94 this July, and he's on ketovore, and he absolutely loves your ice cream recipe with no sugar. Just he loves it the way it is, and he was amazed. He's like, "You mean I can sit here with this whole bowl?" I was like, "Why not, man? It's all mostly fat and eggs. I mean, why not?"
And that's the beauty of that. And you make it yourself. You don't have any hidden stuff in there that you're wondering what they put in there. And if you get the right cream, if you get raw cream, I think that's probably the very best if you find it in the right place. And again, eggs and the cream. I do a little bit of vanilla bean. Now you can, for some people, they might say, I'm going to do a little bit of really dark chocolate, or you're going to throw in some berries. And again, the keto side, they're going to add some berries, something like that. Some people might add honey. I think, amino acids and simple sugars both go to the liver and they're converted to fat via insulin. And so when we're worried about sugar, I think that a little bit from time to time is okay. It's the habit of all the time or daily. That's not what I recommend at all.
Absolutely. My son's 2.5, and he absolutely loves the ice cream too. So it's
Yeah,
fun, man. It's
it
awesome.
is
So
good. It is good.
you've blessed the carnivore community with that recipe. So thank you.
And,
Um,
and 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 again, that some people will use glycine, they're using amino acid, but again, a little bit of sugar is not the cause of disease. It's a lot of sugar, a lot of plants, which come with all the poisons.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was addicted to marijuana for years, and that was very hard to kick. Uh, Pre-carnivore, as soon as I got on carnivore, it was day 27. I felt more high from my ribeye than I did from the bowl I'd smoked. So I said, "Why am I even wasting money on this when I get more high from a ribeye?" It sounds
More,
crazy, but it's true. I stopped smoking, and I just don't need it.
more high from a ribeye. I'm going
Yeah,
to take that one, JT. I
absolutely.
love that one, and that is true. I mean, I used to grow it and smoke a little bit in my earlier younger years, and I can tell you that the game changer is carnivore, and it will significantly reduce and or eliminate those addictions that we've all been living with.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to know what inspired you to get into medicine. Is there some sort of story behind it? What kicked that off for you?
Well, let's see. I grew up in Los Angeles. Had ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, couldn't read. In my like 12 or 13, eighth grade, I got kicked out of school because I hung around with the bad boys, and I was in a gang. My father was in jail at one point, so that was good for him. He got over whatever crap he did, and but but at 19 I broke a leg. At 19, so I was doing pottery and jewelry and art. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I graduated John Marshall High School in 1974. So this is my 50th year anniversary reunion. I'm not sure I'm going yet. We'll see. But I went to Los Angeles City College, LACC. It cost me $1 a semester, I think. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And at 19, I broke a leg. And I was going down the hill on a go-kart my nephew made, and he missed one thing, brakes. And so I put my leg foot down to stop us, and the rear axle ran over it. I had a tib fib fracture. I go to the Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, on Sunset Boulevard, and I think it was Sunset in Vermont. And they put me in a cast. They didn't do anything other than put me in a cast. It was a little crooked, but I could live with a crooked leg. And I met a doctor, a hippie doctor, that I was inspired by. And I was like, I wasn't into studying or science or anything. And I went to the counselor and I looked at what it took to be a doctor, and I say, this doesn't look so good. And but it was meeting someone that inspired me to do something that I thought I couldn't do. And I slow and easy went. It took me 4 years to go to LA City College because I had to make up a whole bunch of classes I didn't do in high school. And then I went to USC, and I didn't get into medical school initially the first year, but I'm a persistent guy. I never give up. And then I wound up going to UC Davis and graduated in 1985, and then went on to OBGYN, internal medicine first, then OBGYN, and then fertility. And here I am only a couple years later.
I love that story because it came from a broken leg, and when I talked to Dr. Tony Hampton, his came from a cut on his hand. he went there and they made him feel better. And he says, I want to do this for people, make them feel better. And it's, to me, I call those moments little did he know moments. Like, little did you know that you getting on that golf cart and breaking your leg would lead you down to the success you're at now. And
I think that life is full of change and opportunities that we don't always see it at the moment or know it. But, hardship is something that builds a strong ship. And I would say I was going through a lot of hardships in family life and personal life. And I did a lot of pottery. I immersed myself in artwork at the time, but I also worked at a department store, a Broadway department store in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and Vine, where I got a chance to learn the service industry and sales. And I then started taking all the science and the math and things to get into medical school. But I think hardship is one of the best things we can go through, and problems are part of the possibilities, and they're important for the path of our lives, and we need to learn to see them sooner rather than, oh, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. If we can go as well as me as whoa is me, and be a cheerleader in your life, and that's the best way to go.
absolutely. I took many classes from Bob Proctor, and he taught me that you
Oh,
should bless your obstacles as stepping stones. And I had just never looked at it like that. Failure is just data on what you shouldn't do. And it helped me totally change my perspective, and just helped me operate in a whole new way.
well, I think that's so important. I wasn't a reader, and but in my 30s, besides scientific journals and that sort of thing, but in my 30s, middle to later 30s, I started reading historical books and biographies, and I love inspirational stories of human beings. And then I started reading a lot of self-help and Bob Proctor and so many people that have sort of guided me in that. And for maybe about 25 years ago, I started talking a lot about mindfulness and meditation and prayer. And I was crazy at running and biking and swimming and all those sort of things. But my diet was standard, and I didn't realize that standard diet. And again, it wasn't junk; it was just uh, healthy fruits and vegetables, and I was still suffering. And I talk a lot about mindfulness, but it was the meat that really mastered the mission.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of mindfulness and diet and doctors, do you think doctors in the future will have more mindfulness of what we're giving people? Like, some of these people, like Jeff the Prosperous, they'll go in and they offer them a sugar cookie, and knowing that cancer feeds on sugar and things. Like, do you think one day we'll have more awareness with the doctors on what the heck we're doing?
Yep, yeah, I believe 100%. That's our mission. It's to share a story in a way via experience and examples. Experience and examples. And I know people like Sean Baker are really working on gathering more information, and many people are out there doing that, and I honor those people for doing that. I think the most important part is the N of one as we begin to touch each other. And I've been in this keto carnivore world for a while, and really the last 5 years, it seems like we're beginning to see an exponential growth in those people that are in the carnivore world, keto world, and we're talking about it more. So like, you had to go to medical school. You had to get a degree before you can talk about this stuff, right? Which I love is that we're all influencers, no matter your degree, your gender, your size, shape, age. What, it doesn't matter what it is. Put your story out there of how to help each other. That's what we're really here to do, in my opinion. And I visualize and see more and more of the carnivore word getting out and growing. There's always going to be, all it's like politics or religions. There's lots of different varieties of it. Food beliefs are part of the paradigm, right? But each of us must be on our own journey and going to figure it out. But if we can all learn earlier, and in my practice. I take care of many men and women that are in the reproductive years. If I can help those men and women learn carnivore or ketovore, and then once they conceive, they carry it out throughout their pregnancy, and then once they deliver and they're breastfeeding, they carry it out, and then they pass it on to their children. And so, what I believe we're going to begin to see generations understanding and learning about the carnivore way of living or the ketovore way of living, and also throwing in a little bit of faith and fasting in there also.
That was such a great answer. I think you already answered my next question. I was going to ask you, how do we inspire more people to look at their health and what they're eating? And I think the stories are a great way. That's why I like this Healing Humanity movie. It's about the stories. And before Bob passed away, he made everybody promise to never stop telling their story, because you only got your story. I only have my story. Everybody has a story.
And it's we're judgers. You see, we're born to judge, but what we're learning to do is judge with love. That's number one. And as we begin to look at every human being and see the love shining from them, and that we can listen and learn from each other, and we're listening to their stories of pain and suffering, healing, health, and wellness, and a new way. And again, I think it's important to bring in the mindfulness along with the nutrition, and then the motion of life, right? And you don't have to be an exerciser, by the way. You just have to be in motion in life. And again, I think creativity is an important motion. We don't focus enough on the arts, and exposing all of us to more artwork of life. And it could be, your artwork could be podcasting, and that's, I think, a very important artwork that we all bring together.
Absolutely. And I know you do artwork. Is there something you're working on lately? Have you got a big painting?
Well, I'm lately I've been in my pottery studio making cups. So if you go to kiltzcups.com, or just to drkiltz.com, I'm doing pottery for 55 years, long, kind of a couple of years. And it's kind of my passion. I started painting, but I mostly do pottery lately. And that's what I keep on doing. I always go back to the studio. It gives me alone time, and in solitude, I think, is really something very important for all of us.
That peace of mind, you gotta center yourself, otherwise you're gonna be in chaos.
And that's the beauty of the potter's wheel. It's always, you got to center the piece first. So and I think that's a good point, JT, is that we all have to center ourselves first. And it's kind of interesting, a little bit about the world of science and medicine. We're always arguing or criticizing someone else's work and way. And I think I'm learning to listen more, and because I've grown up in that, and I was that way. And so I think if we're all learning to center ourselves, be still, listen and learn, even when we believe what they're saying is wrong. And how can we do that better? And I think that's part of this journey for all of us.
Yeah, it's good to find some way to meet a common ground, maybe, so you could maybe have some sort of progress.
It's all, and there's a common ground because we're all humans.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter your religion, your size, shape, age, weight, gender. It doesn't matter. We're all human beings. And being human is the evolution of change and learning together. And I think that's critical for us to speak out about all of that.
Absolutely. Now, I know you're an expert in fertility. I have a family channel, so it's something I wanted to discuss with you. How long have you been in that line of work?
Well, let's see. So I went to medical school. I graduated in 85. I don't know, maybe I graduated my residency at about 33. And then I practiced for a year in California, in Sacramento at Kaiser. And I met a doc, Kurt Klooster, who was doing a lot of fertility stuff, and I was interested. I then went back to Los Angeles and did a fellowship in 1991, 2, and 93. And interesting, I practiced for a couple of years, but I didn't like it. And so I wound up moving to upstate New York. And so that's how I kind of got to upstate New York is I didn't like just general fertility. I came here, I bought a house on a lake, rural area. I worked in a little town. I practiced OBGYN and I started a little fertility. And then I got fired. Now I use the word firing as a kind of a very general. It was a mutual disagreement that we parted ways. And I went to Syracuse and I started an OBGYN practice and I started CNY fertility in 1997. And
Wow.
so really I did OB then and I stopped OB after 2 years. I stopped GYN after about 5 years. And now all I do is help make babies. And I talk a lot about inflammation and a lot of the other things that we'll probably get a chance to talk about here.
And I'm just curious, off the top of your head, I'm sure you don't have to be exact. How many babies do you think you've helped come into this world?
Well,
From
I don't know exactly, but my entire practice has probably helped create 40 to 50,000 babies over the years.
Wow,
A couple of babies.
that's amazing. That is amazing. That's our future.
And I like to take credit for many of those babies conceived because of the stories we tell on keto, carnivore, faith, and fasting.
Absolutely. Now, for any of the couples out there that are having troubles getting pregnant and having troubles with fertility, starting their own family, what would your suggestion to be to them? Like, would a ketogenic diet like carnivore help them?
Well, one of the most important things I think is you gotta talk about it and share it, and don't be afraid to share it. My bias in life is that the truth shall set you free, and we all need to share it in a way that because there are infinite number of people that want to come to our rescue and help us, and someone always knows someone or something that's going to help in that journey. Um, Infertility, male and or female or both, is caused by inflammation, and an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, which I think is keto and carnivore and keto and paleo, all sort of fall into those. The keto is a word of the physiologic metabolic environment going on. There's really only herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. So you eat only plants, only animals, or you eat both. And I think no matter what you do, fasting and adding fat will reduce inflammation in our bodies, whether you're a vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, pescatarian, or carnivore. Inflammation, got to get it down. And there are lots of ways to do that. But, the easiest one to me is fatty meat, eat one meal a day, have faith, and make love to your partner every day.
Love it. Love that advice. And I'm sure, people should listening if they are having fertility issues, listen to what the doctor says. He's brought in a few babies, like you said.
A couple, and I talk about, I just to show this real quick, I talk about, do I have this right? The baby's diet: bacon, eggs, butter, beef. You can have Kiltz's ice cream from time to time, and salt is, I think, something where we're not realizing how important that is to add to our diets, because we've all been taught to not eat fat and don't use salt, which ultimately is, I think, the number one cause of all disease, and infertility is another one.
Wow. Now, I want to talk about birth control pills. Why should women not be taking birth control pills?
Well, the birth control pill is a pharmaceutical agent that may have side effects that can even cause blood clots, stroke, and death. Now, it's a small number, but the drugs we take may be harmful in more ways than we know. See, the cause of menstrual irregularity, excessive bleeding, polycystic ovarian syndrome, a PMS, premenstrual syndrome, which is kind of a emotional, upheaval during your certain times of your menstrual cycle, I believe they're all caused by a plant-based, which means it's all sugar. It has chemicals, including estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, and there's a lot of antigens like glutens, oxalates, phytates. They get into our body and they cause damage mostly in the pelvis. Okay, and so the way we treat these problems, so we don't know the cause, we treat the problem mostly with the birth control pill. So either women are taking it from a young age in order to prevent pregnancy, but there are other ways to do that that don't have the same physiologic, like condoms, diaphragm. But again, each person needs to talk to their own healthcare provider. But in my opinion, I think long-term use of the birth control pill gives you a sense of, oh, I'm fine, I could take the birth control pill, but it may directly or indirectly be harming us in ways that we don't understand. Now, and we use it basically to help regulate your period, reduce menstrual cramps and pain. It helps treat PCOS, the symptoms of PCOS, but it doesn't address the cause of PCOS. So, and again, the birth control pill has some good value and bad value. You've got to decide where the good and bad is for each of us. But what if all you needed to do was change your diet, add fat, and fat turns out to be the most important thing to eat over protein, in my opinion. So adipose tissue, it suppresses the microbes in the gut. Now, what are those microbes in your gut doing?
Are they fermenting?
They're fermenting. What does fermentation make?
Booze.
Booze. So you're wondering why all of us have brain fog and kids are suffering. Okay, they're because we're feeding all of us a plant-based, sugar-based, fermenting diet, which causes heat, alcohol, aldehydes, methane gas, bloating. How many people are suffering from that? And I believe it's mostly happening in the colon and the distal small intestine and appendix. Remember how much appendicitis is happening? Gallstones. How many people are losing their adenoids in the tonsils? Why? Fermentation of the microbes in the gut. So the next time someone says probiotics are good for you, I would say they're deadly for us. And so again, a plant-based diet, and I know I'm going on a little tangent here trying to keep to the why we put on all these hormones to try to straighten out the damage to our body that causes women to suffer and men to suffer, by the way, because endometriosis and PCOS. I think there's a male component, which is sexual dysfunction, low libido, along with all the other mental disorders, XYZ, that happens, and depression and suicidality. All these things are happening simply due to the fermentation of the microbes, from the microbes of the plants in our gut that are just killing us. And then many people are dying of infections, and we're kind of like, gee, I don't know why. We don't know where it came from.
Dr. Kiltz, you literally just blew my mind with the fermentation in the gut. Like that's sobering itself. Just that fact you telling us.
Look at there's all. I admire the scientists, but the story in general is too complicated. All right, I got all these pathways, and I mean, do you know what these pathways are doing in your body? I don't. And I think it's really, really simple. Why do we get fat? Because we're meant to. Because fat is the only fuel for the mitochondria. And fat stores all the amino acids, all the simple sugars, all the fatty acids and all the minerals and vitamins that your body requires. The adipose tissue does. So everyone says your adipose tissue is bad, you're fat, it's bad. Nope, nope, nope. It's the best thing ever in the body. So the job of the liver is to make fat. And the job of insulin is to make fat in the liver only out of amino acids and sugars. And so type 1 diabetics have no insulin. They get skinny and die because they have no fat. And if you haven't read Gary Taub's book on diabetes, Rethinking Diabetes, it's another good book. His books have really helped me through the years because he just digs deep into what's really out there. And the first diet to treat a type 1 diabetic was basically a carnivore fatty meat diet. Well, because a type 1 diabetic cannot make fat. You give them insulin, they now can make fat. But what's the diet of most humanity, including diabetics? It's a plant-based, low animal fat diet. So that means they're eating a lot of protein and a lot of plants. So what people don't know is amino acids and sugars go to the liver via the hepatic portal system. And what happens to them in the liver? They're both made into fat via insulin, or you die. And so the interesting part is there's something called hepatogenous diabetes. Most people have never heard of it. What that means is someone with severe liver failure, even though they're still alive, has circulating elevated insulin and sugars, yet they're emaciated and cachectic. They have no fat. Well, but I thought insulin puts sugar into the muscle, into the fat cells to make fat and energy. That's not true. And so, I listen to so many people. Most people don't know that simple story. And so my sister Marianne died at 52 of diabetes. She had it since age 4. Amazing woman. And why did she get diabetes? Because of a plant-based diet since the day she was born. And maybe a plant-based diet from my mother's diet affected her in utero. The pancreatic islet cells are very sensitive to plant antigens, plant chemicals, and plant sugars, and along with fermentation. So there's a duct, the hepatic, the gallbladder, a common duct, and there's a pancreatic branch that goes into the common duct. Okay. My bet is these microbes and the toxins are going up into that and going into the pancreas, the gallbladder, and the liver, along with systemically in the bloodstream. And these cells are having allergic reactions or toxic chemicals that are killing them. So now our GI tract is damaged, our pancreas is damaged, our liver is damaged. And so the one thing we don't eat in our diets is fat, but is the most important thing you should eat, I believe, every day.
Absolutely. I think the average person, thinks you can only really damage the liver with alcohol consumption.
And so someone says they have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, but yet they're eating a plant-based diet and protein. That means they're fermenting in their gut.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fermenting in their gut. That means they're making alcohol. And remember, the bloodstream from the gut, from the esophagus to the rectum, the anus, goes to the liver. So that means as you're making alcohol, you're sending it directly to the liver, which is a contributing factor along with the plant sugars, which glycate. Plant sugars glycate. They rust every cell of your body. Some cells are more susceptible faster than others. And so we don't know why one person gets diabetes and other people doesn't. One person gets psychosis or schizophrenia, depression, but another person doesn't. But mental disease, heart disease, kidney disease, liver disease, skin disease, muscle disease, neurologic diseases, neuromuscular diseases, and I'm sure there's some others I'm missing, are all secondary to a plant-based low animal fat diet. That is the single leading cause. And it damages, by the way, the cell wall, the mitochondria, the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, the nuclear membrane, and these toxins get into the nucleus and damage your DNA, and it damages your RNA. Crazy, right?
It's I'm processing, doctor. Like that was.
I'm throwing a lot of.
No,
you know what?
It's great.
It's radical, but I think the story needs to be put out there. Okay, every time someone uses the idea of a unique area of the body and as a separate disease cause, it doesn't. 5 causes of every disease in the human body in general. Plant sugars. Now, you may not know this, but there are hundreds of sugars, if not thousands. And the sugars in your body, they're more than just glucose. But the plant sugars are elevated in our bloodstream because we eat a lot of plants, but they're foreign to our body. So there's something called the glycobiome, which is the sugar layer that protects every cell of our body. And think of the garden, right? The earth. The earth is covered with plants. If there are no plants out there, what happens to the soil?
It'd be everywhere.
It erodes. It washes away. The wind takes us, right? It's like the Dust Bowl. Okay. So what happens if your glycobiome, otherwise known as the glycocalyx, which is the sugars that are branching off of the epithelial cells, they're branching from the phospholipid bilayer, and they're the little branches, the flowers, the trees that acknowledge you as self or non-self. It determines your blood type. It's determines whether or not you're a friend or a foe, but sugar dissolves sugars. And when they're gone from the epithelial layer, especially in the gut, that's when the microbes and the other antigens get into your body. And so the glycocalyx and the glycobiome is highly sensitive to these excessive foreign sugars that are dissolving the epithelial glycobiome, allows things to get into your bloodstream, your lymphatics, and go everywhere in your body. You know, the number of people that are dying of Crohn's, colitis, IBS, but they're also dying of liver infections, kidney infections, bowel, brain infections. They're growing tremendously. I mean, the search for antibiotics was because we're all suffering from infections. Well, infections are mostly caused by a sugar-based diet in the gut. And the plant sugars are never required in the human diet. So there's our number one. And remember, fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, all plants break down to what?
Sugar.
Sugar. Not white sugar, but yeah, it all breaks down to essentially white sugar. So I don't care if you're eating kale, lettuce, asparagus, broccoli, they all contain plant sugars that are damaging your glycobiome and making easy access for the microbes and the other antigens and toxins that, again, oxalates, phytates, lectins, and more come from the plants and the microbes. They're antigenic, secondary to the sugar mark, because all microbes, all animals, all organisms have a different barcode created by their sugar layer. And that's why we're highly allergic to mostly plants. Okay. And by the way, crabs And many shellfish also have a glycobiome. They all do. That's where our allergies come from. And so think of the antigens, the chemicals, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine are chemicals that come from plants, but they also contain other toxins that are killing the livestock of the world or damaging them also. But think about it. When the livestock gets sick on the plants they eat, money is lost because livestock are lost. But when you and I get sick on the plant-based diet, someone makes money off us. We lose. And so so plant sugars, plant antigens, plant chemicals, fermentation of the plant molecules in the gut via the microbes, that where they come from, they come with the plants. When you eat the plants, I don't care how much you wash them, those microbes are there. They get in you. Again, bacteria, yeast, and viruses, and other spores and other microbes that you and I don't even know what they look like, but they're scary if you could look at a microscope. They're damaging our body through fermentation and other processes that they perform once they get in you. And then my fifth cause of disease is chronic is excessive exercise.
Truth bombs, man. You dropped a lot of them. I really appreciate that. That was the bomb. That was good.
Sorry to throw so much kind of craziness your way.
Now, beyond diet, what other lifestyle factors should people consider to naturally improve their fertility?
Meditation, prayer, and visualization. So meditation, prayer, and visualization, and it's always thank you, God, Lord, Creator, for the day. Thank you for my babies. Thank you for my family. Thank you for my health and wellness. Thank you for the thing you wish as if it is, and it shall be that or better. See, people are saying, like, please give me this, please give me that. Boy, I wish it would be this way. Well, you get what you ask for. You're asking for something, and so God is always going to be, you keep asking, but you don't ask. You only say thank you for this gift of life and the things you've given me in my life, including the things that are in the mind, because the mind, the law of attraction is simple. What you think about, you attract. And the more you think about that, the more you attract, and it's exponential. It just keeps on coming and growing. And it's just like the most amazing thing I've ever learned.
It reminds me of what Bob would say: attitude or gratitude is the attitude that hooks you up. And
yeah. Bob Proctor, amazing guy. He just was so positive, and he still inspires us today. That's the beauty of his story. We keep on reading and listening and watching his stories. And also I think, things like slow the body down, cool it down. Heating up the body in excessive exercise heats up the core, increased temperature cooks your eggs and sperm. Why would you do that? It destroys the DNA and it damages the glycobiome. It destroys the membranes that are critical for normal function. So, slow it down, cool it down, even some, walks in nature, not runs, cold water therapy, meditation, prayer, yoga. Those are the things that I really recommend. Visualize. So, the vision board, create the board of the things you wish in life as if they're there, and they will happen the way you believe it to be or better. Always give room for the all better in life. That's one of the most important things I've ever learned. And embrace your troubles and the treasures of the trail to the truth of life, which is you're already perfect and love you as you are, and God will give you all the amazing things you dream about.
I love it. And you already took care of my next question, but I did want to say we don't have fertility issues, but I am enjoying this book. And I suggest this to anybody who does have fertility issues, please. And correct me if I'm wrong. Was this your first book that you authored?
Yeah, essentially that was my first book. And I also did a book on daily inspirations. But yeah, because I love the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. So I created The Fertile Secret. I just kind of stole her secret book and kind of added some of those ideas in here, along with some standard ideas of medical practice. But yeah, that's an important thing. I think, there's so many good books out there, so many amazing people and so many stories. I think it's important to listen, learn, and read the stories of others in order to inspire you, because we're all the same. We're not, there's nothing unique about us except we believe our uniqueness because of our name, or like I'm different than you. But in fact, we're inside, we're the same. We're after the same things, but our metabolism, our environment, it works the same.
Yeah, I feel like the more you know yourself, the more you know someone else.
Yeah.
We're all the same.
And we see God in the mirror, and God reflected in every mirror of every human being.
Mm. Now, I have another question. This one, I was talking with Kerry from Homestead Hall, my buddy. He said there's a chemical in Cheerios that is causing fertility issues. Have you heard about this, Doctor?
I've read a little bit about it, but here's the simple thing about Cheerios. Where is it made from?
Uh, what is it made
Oats.
from?
Oats.
Oh, okay.
Oatmeal, right? I think it's oats. Cheerios, oats. And oats are a sugar. And are there some chemicals in there? Likely so, because are there chemicals in oats? Yeah. And so for some people, these substances may be either antigenic, inflammatory, they may be glycate because they're sugars, and they may have properties like either the birth control pill or the abortion pill. Plants are the original source of the abortion pill and the birth control pill, male and female. So when we eat the plants, Cheerios is plant material, right? All right. So again, I just go to simply, what's it from? It's from a plant. It has poisons in it. It has sugar. It has antigens, and it provides fermentation for the bugs in our bowels that are going to make alcohol. Is alcohol good for your sperm or eggs?
No.
No.
That's amazing. I'm glad you answered that, because I know they've been pushing to even eat like breakfast cereals for dinner and stuff, and it's just kind of getting wild.
Well, we all know the basic story. Feed them beer and bread was an ancient story, an ancient way to control the masses. So the masters figured out how to control the masses to maintain the master's realm, which is the temples and the pyramids and the great temples of the world, where we prayed to the gods. And so you don't need to be in a temple, you live in the temple. And so God is wherever you go, because we are the gods. No human being has any more access to God than you do. No human being is any more powerful or less powerful than you are. We're all the same. And so I think that a plant-based diet is highly controlling. It's created a peasant world, a slave, soldier, and prisoner world. That's really all we are, because we eat the controlling heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, and caffeine that we basically all line up and will do anything the master says.
Turning lions into sheep, basically.
Lions into sheep, pigs, cows, and sheep. And again, it's a great fun story. Listen, is anyone conspiratorial out there? You know, the journey for money should never be your way, because money is debilitating if that's the mission. Now, if it's for energy to help heal people, and profits are part of the process of creating an abundant life for everyone. And so the more we can help men, mommies, masters, that's what we're really here to do. And I'm blessed because I've been put in this position to help people and speak these ideas that I would tell you, 20 years ago, I think, Kiltz, you're crazy. I know there's some people out there saying, Kiltz, you're crazy. Well, I agree with them. They're right. I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I love it. You're crazy cool, man. I love it. And I have another question about infertility. Since the rise in veganism, has there been a decline in infertility?
Well, I don't know how to measure it that way because I think because of an accelerated recommendation of a plant-based low animal fat diet. And I say that because a standard diet is plant-based, protein-based, and low fat. But we'll throw in a little oil. Where do oils come from? Plants. I don't care if it's avocado oil, olive oil, sesame seed oil, rapeseed oil, which is canola oil, or any other oil made from a plant. They potentially contain poisons that may affect some people over others. But in my opinion, the real killer is just a high plant based, low animal fat diet because the plants, the vegetables, the fruit, the seeds, the nuts, the pollen, all of this stuff contains the toxins, the sugars, the antigens, the chemicals, and the fermentation that basically ruins our reproduction. And if you think of the bowels, here are your bowels. And right next to your bowel is your prostate, is your uterus, tubes, and ovaries. And so fermentation is happening in and around this bag, right? That is sitting on top of your reproductive organs. Is that good for you? No. And younger kids, even in utero, are being born with ambiguous genitalia, and many other sexual well, that's not the anatomic sexual abnormalities and or sterility because of something I believe was consumed in utero by their mom or in the environment in some way. But I think it's mostly our plants, and because we're pushing a plant-based low-fat diet, and everyone's growing on that, and plus we're all eating 3 to 6 meals a day. How many meals a day do you think you got 10,000, 100,000 years ago?
Maybe one if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, you probably went days and weeks without food, especially if you remember, we were mostly hunters and we followed the herds. But what if the herd suddenly wasn't there? And what are you going to eat? Berries? Like in the middle of winter? You're not.
Yeah.
And again, our stories of what we think. Now, I have no idea what we ate 50,000 years ago. I'm making it up. All right. Is the anthropologic evidence pretty clear? I believe it is, and I still believe in God. And it is really radically amazing and simple, that we are here as lions and we've been lied to. And yes, the increase in infertility is happening because of an excessive plant-based diet, plus postponing childbearing to your 30s and 40s. We should be having, ultimately, our DNA says have babies at 12, 13, 14, and 15. If you know that, right? That's why, teenagers want to have sex, because physiologically it says have sex, have babies. But we're saying, no, don't do it. Oh, wait till you're settled. When are we ever settled?
It's very true.
When we're in the ground.
Yeah, right. With that, then you can sleep, right? This has been a radical interview, Dr. Kiltz, and the time flew by like so fast.
No.
I have a last question.
Oh, please, I'm good. Go, whatever you want to do. A couple minutes is good.
Okay. I like to ask my guests, what's on your heart? What would you like to talk? And it just, I don't want to prompt you and lead you in any direction. Just what's on your heart? What would you like to say, talk about?
Well, I think the most important part to know is that we're all human beings and we're all the same. We're all beautiful children of God. We are the gods. You can, whatever belief of God you want, have it. But look in the mirror and there she, he, it is. And I believe we're born to go through hardships, but these strengthen us. I believe a carnivore diet is the most amazing thing I've ever done, that changed my view of life, my positivity of life, my ability to take hardship and challenges and problems and failures and look at the pieces and wonder, huh, what did God give me today? Because I know he's given me something amazing and wonderful. And if I could focus on that each and every day and get up with the joy of a new day, and the dreams at night are always positive and loving. And sometimes I don't quite understand them, but I work to put them together in a way that makes it better. And that our job in life is, as you said, have gratitude and be kind to each other and love each other. Again, whether you're a vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, pescatarian, carnivore. And I also honor the people in medicine, and I share the word in the way that maybe we can all step back and ask the question, is is that really true? Is the scientific data that has been reported in the literature true? Or is it a good story that we hold on to? It certainly gives us some conversation, right? I mean, we weren't talking about carnivore. What else would we talk about? We'd find something. But it really is that we all need to be open, and listen, don't need to be dogmatic in carnivore. I don't care if you have some honey and fruit like Saladino. He's a good guy. But we're here to love each other and have fun with this. And that's why I love these meetings. Carnivore people and ketovore are like the very best people I've ever met in the world. They're quite amazing. And they're doing it from their heart. And so maybe that's really the story here. We're doing this from our hearts. And I just want to help more people find the happiness that I've found in life, and share it with, the infinite lights that are shining in each of us.
If you got an extra minute, I just have one or two fun
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, please, please, please.
What's a book you've been reading?
Well, let's see. I kind of read a few books at a time. I've been reading Georgia Eads' new book, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Taub's new book on rethinking diabetes. The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. And I got a book on plant toxins that I kind of flipped through and love to read it. I can't remember who the author is. Those are kind of the main books I'm floating through right now. And but yeah, reading and listening to and watching. I love flying airplanes. I fly a jet, a Cessna Citation Mustang, and a SR-22 Turbo. So I'm always reading and watching airplane stuff and learning more. And we need to be in infinite learning mode, always learning,
Have you
yearning.
seen anything interesting in the sky? UFO wise.
Me. Every time I fly, I just kind of look out the window, and I'm always taking pictures, and I'm just like, wow, I'm flying a jet. I'm at 41,000 feet. I'm going into JFK, or I'm going into Teterboro. I'm going into some airports. I'm like, wow, can I really do this? I've gone into Atlanta and international airport, and it's quite amazing. And everyone and anyone could do anything. Everyone and anyone could do anything.
Speaking of doing anything, what's your favorite superhero? Do you have one?
Jesus Christ, number one. He's like my number one guy. He's master. I love Game of Thrones, and I loved Schwarzenegger stuff, and Superman. I actually, I was watching Superman, stories of Superman and all the Supermen, and the story of the story, where it came from recently. YouTube. I love YouTube stuff. Always great to me. I'm always learning new things, how to build something, how to make something, and I'm intrigued by everything out there. And Jesus Christ is my number one, and maybe Superman and Superwoman are my two favorites in life, because we all emulate those things.
And they fly, so it fits right with your style.
Absolutely. And I every walk of life of something someone's done, an author, a speaker, a writer, a dancer, a potter, a painter. I think we can learn to look at, and I'm going to use the word ordinary people. And every human being is simply an ordinary person. And we see them doing extraordinary things. You are doing extraordinary things, exactly who and what you're doing, by the way. That's the one thing I think we all need to realize, whether I don't want to use that word, a mom, a dad, whatever your job in life is. And even if it's not a job, it's just being you. That's a unique, powerful, amazing human being.
Absolutely. One last one. What's your favorite movie?
Well, the one that comes to mind is Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
But I love the Vikings also. And let's see. Which is the one that, It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a good one. Mine would be Predator with Arnold. I've watched that over 1,000 times in my life, so I absolutely love that movie.
I do have another one, Apocalypto.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's an amazing story because it's all about, I'm going to use the little guy taking on the master and winning, because he realized he's the jaguar.
He realized he's the lion, right?
He's the black jaguar, the panther in the jungle of the Amazons. And that was an amazing movie. And I watch it every so often to get re-inspired that any of us and all of us can do it. And we are going to die. And when we die, no one knows. I have no idea. Someone says, I'm on my deathbed. I'm like, how do you know? How do you know you're on your deathbed? Because someone else said? No. Never think of dying. Think of living. That's all we're here to do. And because too many people are spending their time dying when they have plenty of opportunity to do something before they die. And whatever you do is the most valuable thing in the universe, because the universe is within each of us. We are the creators of the universe. The mind is the master creator of all of it. Storytelling. Just tell the story, whatever you want. If it's always about, woe is me, this will never happen, that'll never happen, or if it's complaining about this or that or someone else, you're living the story. Enjoy.
Well, I hope when people watch and listen to this that they realize that they're the jaguar, they're the lion, and not the sheep, my friend.
And that's what this story is really about. We are lions. I'm sorry, lions that don't eat meat become meat. And we are ancient lions that have been lied to, and we're weak and meek. We've been brainwashed before we were born. It's pervasive. I don't care what you think or say. It's trying to take you down. And my friends, you have the strength to stand right up in the midst of whatever it is and be happy.
Absolutely. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, you're going to enjoy everything Dr. Kiltz is pushing out. You can keep up with everything Dr. Kiltz at drkiltz.com, and that's DOCTORKILTZ.com. And get that pottery and just keep in touch with them. And Doctor, thank you for blessing my channel and taking the time out of your day to raise my awareness.
Well, JT, I'm inspired by what you guys are doing. Keep doing it. We're inspiring each other. And that's the beauty of this life. And again, it doesn't take a degree anymore. It takes just turning up the degrees of your life to keep moving and sharing and doing something that's uncomfortable. So again, thank you and God bless.
So great way to end it. Thanks, Doctor.